Welcome to the news on NTA International. I'm Lami Ali. The sign language interpreter is Bamidele John. Now, let us begin with the headlines. Biden bows out and Donald Trump steps in as 47th President of the United States of America. Nigeria and Egypt reach a partnership agreement on food production, water management and climate adaptation. Also on the news, World Economic Forum underway in Davos with leaders focusing on finding solutions to global financial challenges. Donald Trump returns to the White House as the 47th President of the United States for a second term. President Trump, the Republican ticket bearer, was declared winner in the November 5th, 2024 general elections. From a Pioneer reports, the inauguration for the first time was done inside the Capitol.
It was yet another momentous occasion for the United States as the 47th elected president assumed his responsibilities.
The President-elect of the United States,
Chief Justice John Roberts of the Supreme Court administered the oath of office.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
Buoyed by his historic political comeback, the billionaire Republican displayed no inclination to temper the bombastic style that previously shook the nation. He announced plans to begin his administration by issuing executive orders aimed at fulfilling his campaign promise.
The golden age of America begins right now. From this day forward, our country will flourish and be respected again all over the world. We will be the envy of every nation, and we will not allow ourselves to be taken advantage of any longer. During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first.
The inauguration was attended by former presidents of the United States and various world leaders.
I elected him because, he is a fighter and he didn't give up.
His border policy, I think, is out of the two candidates, I think he was the best. So, yeah.
In 2021, Joe Biden succeeded Donald Trump, and 4 years later, Biden passed the torch back to Trump. Frama Pani, NTA News.
Now, joining us via Zoom to speak on the return of Donald Trump as the 47th President of the United States of America is Victor Adetola, a professor of international relations and development studies at the University of Jos. Prof, thank you for joining us on the News at 7. Prof, can you hear?
Thank you and good evening.
All right. So
Thank you and good evening.
All right. So Donald Trump has been inaugurated as the 47th President of the United States of America. Now, what is your take on his shot as the presidency again?
Well, it seems he has come to complete what he started in 2017. And of course, we can see that the America to reemerge the second time, which has been labeled 2-0. And when we talk about the context, we're talking about committed to nationalism, and when you're talking about a global context, that is Trump hold very dearly. So put together, this has helped him to reemerge again with intent.
We apologize sincerely. We cannot continue with Professor Adetola because of the audio challenge we're having. We may get back to him in the course of the bulletin. Now, from way back time, I'll take that again. From way back, Time presented Donald Trump to the world in different lights. He also engaged in divergent ventures for many years. Primarily, the rest of the world saw on an entrepreneur in him, even though political imperatives were tossed in his face since 1988. In this special package, Kolo Mohammed takes a look at the person, Donald Trump.
Born June 14, 1946, Trump is a businessman, a media mogul, and politician who served as President of the United States from 2017 to 2021. Having won the 2024 presidential elections as a nominee of the Republican Party, he becomes the 47th President of the United States. Trump graduated with a bachelor's degree in economics from the University of Pennsylvania in 1968, then became president of the Trump family real estate business in 1971 and focused on luxury accommodations. After a series of business bankruptcies in the 1990s, he launched several side ventures from 2004 to 2015. He hosted and co-produced the reality television series The Apprentice. Donald Trump nurtured political adventure 37 years ago. He appeared on television shows where hosts asked him if he will someday run for president. His response has been political.
I'd win. I tell you what, I wouldn't go in to lose. I've never gone in to lose in my life. And if I did decide to do it, I think I'd be inclined, I would say that I would have a hell of a chance of winning, because I think people, I don't know how your audience feels, but I think people are tired of seeing the United States ripped off. And I can't promise you everything, but I can tell you one thing, this country would make one hell of a lot of money from those people that for 25 years have taken advantage. It wouldn't be the way it's been, believe me.
In those days, he mentioned that if he should run for president, he would run as a Republican, and this he held on to. He contested and won the 2016 United States of America presidential election, which made him the 45th president of the U.S. Trump is the third president in U.S. history after Andrew Johnson in 1868 and Bill Clinton in 1998 to be impeached by the House of Representatives. He is also the only president to be impeached twice. Once in 2019 for abuse of power and obstruction of Congress in connection with the Ukraine scandal, and once in 2021 for incitement in insurrection in connection with the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol by a violent mob of his supporters. Both of Trump's impeachments ended in his acquittal by the U.S. Senate. Trump's stance on immigration remains a landmark decision over which his second coming as president is predicated. Illegal immigrants are believed to have had their hearts out in their hands ever since Trump won the last election. Now that he has been inaugurated, what happens next remains to be seen. On the whole, Trump's entrepreneurship cannot be said to have eluded his DNA as president, as he has always worked to get what is due to America in terms of especially tariffs into America's coffers. China, European Union and Africa, Asia and the Middle East are all known to have had series of meetings working to engage the new America under Trump in the most friendly and profitable way for the overall good of all. Kolo Mohammed, NTA News.
Now, Joseph Robinette Biden's tenure as the 46th President of the United States began with his inauguration on January 20, 2021. Upon his inauguration, he became the oldest president in American history, breaking the record set by Ronald Reagan. Frama Panye brings us highlights of the Biden's administration.
Joe Biden, a member of the Democratic Party, had served as vice president for 2 terms under President Barack Obama from 2009 to 2017. He took office after his victory in the 2020 presidential election over the then incumbent President Donald Trump of the Republican Party. Biden assumed office amid the COVID-19 pandemic, an economic crisis, and increased political polarization. The first major legislation signed into law by Biden was the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. a $1 trillion stimulus bill that temporarily established expanded unemployment insurance and spent $1,400 stimulus checks to most Americans in response to continued economic pressure from COVID-19. He signed the Bipartisan Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, a 10-year plan brokered by Biden alongside Democrats and Republicans in Congress to invest in American roads, bridges, public transit, ports, broadband access. In late 2022, Biden signed the Respect for Marriage Act, which repealed the Defense of Marriage Act and codified same-sex and interracial marriage in the United States. Other domestic legislation signed during his term included the Bipartisan Civil Communities Act, the first major federal gun control law in nearly 3 decades, the Chips and Science Act, bolstering the semiconductor and manufacturing industry, the Honoring Pact Act, expanding healthcare for veterans, the Electoral Count Reform and Presidential Transition Improvement Act, and the Juneteenth National Independence Day Act, making Juneteenth a federal holiday in the United States. Frama Pani, NTA News.
Russian President Vladimir Putin said Monday he is open to talks on the Ukraine conflict with Donald Trump's incoming U.S. administration, adding he hopes any settlement would ensure lasting peace. Trump had earlier promised to reach out to both sides and bring a swift end to the nearly 3-year conflict. In a television remark, President Putin said they are also open to dialogue with the new U.S. administration on the Ukrainian conflict, congratulating the Republican on his inauguration. As for the settlement of the situation itself, he emphasized that its goal should not be a brief truce, but a lasting peace based on respect for the legitimate interests of all people. President Putin said they will, of course, fight for the interests of Russia, for the interests of the people, end of quote. Trump said last year that the Ukraine-Russia conflict was dying to be settled and that he would speak to both Moscow and Kyiv to avoid World War III. Putin said he welcomed Trump's desire to prevent a third world war. And I quote, "We certainly welcome this attitude and congratulate the President-elect of the United States of America on taking office," President Putin said. The Swiss town of Davos will this week host what is known as an exclusive watch party for the season premiere of Donald Trump's second term. The annual gathering of the World Economic Forum, held in the Alpine Resort each January. It creates a platform where the world's political, business, and financial leaders meet to solve big problems, though the 2,750 delegates will spend most of their time monitoring the U.S. president's return to the White House this time around. Now, Vice President Kashim Shettima has arrived in Davos, Switzerland, where he is representing Nigeria at the 2025 annual meeting of the World Economic Forum. The meeting brings together global leaders, business executives, and development partners to address global and national economic challenges and identify strategies for sustainable growth. As the forum, Vice President Shettima will participate in bilateral meetings and discussions aimed at advancing Nigeria's economic opportunities and addressing global risks. A notable event on the Vice President's schedule is a workshop titled Roadmap to Co-Create Investment Opportunities for Africa's Frontier Markets, organized by the African Development Bank in collaboration with the World Economic Forum. One of the major highlights of the Vice President's engagements will be the launch of the Humanitarian and Resilience Investing Roadmap for Africa, a collaborative effort between the AFDB and other partners. The initiative aims to foster public-private partnerships and attract investments into Africa's emerging markets. In addition, the Vice Presidents will co-chair a forum on turning digital trade into a catalyst for growth in Africa as the Pisha Congress Center. The forum will provide insights into leveraging the private sector to accelerate the implementation of the AfCFTA Digital Trade Protocol, a framework adopted by African Union leaders in January 2024. Vice President Shettima is also scheduled to attend the annual meeting 2025 Crystal Awards dinner for heads of state, government officials, and international organizations at Korpark Village, Eagle. Another key engagement is his participation as a panelist in a session titled Global Risks 2025, which will take place at the Aspen 2 Congress Center. This dialogue will explore critical geopolitical, technological, and environmental risks shaping the global landscape. You're watching the news on NTA International. Time to take a break. Do stay tuned. Nigeria and Egypt have reached a partnership agreement focused on food production, water management, and climate adaptation in crop cultivation. This was highlighted during the Egypt-Nigeria Business Forum held in Cairo. The Nigerian delegation was led by Foreign Affairs Minister Yusuf Tuga, accompanied by Agriculture Minister Abubakar Kyari and the Minister of Water Resources. Minister of Agriculture and Food Security Abubakar Kyari emphasized that the discussions underscored the importance of technical collaboration and knowledge exchange between Nigeria and Egypt. He noted that Egypt's expertise in crop and livestock production, food technology, and water resource management offers valuable opportunities for Nigeria to learn and adapt. The federal government of Nigeria has urged Israel and Gaza to ensure the full implementation of the second and third phases of the ceasefire agreement reached between the two countries. A statement by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs indicates Nigeria's support for a two-state solution as the blueprint for a just and lasting peace for Palestine, Israel, and the entire region. Nigeria welcomes the prospect of the agreement offering an end to the appalling loss of civilian life and human tragedy witnessed across Gaza over the last 15 months, as this serves as a relief to the families of Israel hostages held in Gaza, as well as some of the Palestinians detained in Israeli prisons, the statement adds. Nigeria also welcomes the supply of much-needed aid and relief materials, thus the peace deal facilitates. It says the ceasefire agreement presents hope and compassion for the region's people. Therefore, the Nigerian government praises the Arabic Republic of Egypt, the State of Qatar, and the United States of America for their painstaking work during the negotiations, which they will now act as international guarantors. Implementation has started on the agreement signed by Nigeria and France in December 2024 in Paris. Minister of Solid Minerals Development, Dele Alake, expressed delight for the implementation with the provision of advanced technological equipment and funding for the exploration of geological data for the Nigeria Geological Survey Agency. The minister and France's interministerial delegation for strategic minerals, Benjamin Gazalot, met at the Future Minerals Forum in Saudi Arabia, where they fine-tuned details of the cadastral sector agreements. Dele Alake observed that adopting modern mining practices using cutting-edge technology was the way to go for the Nigerian mining sector. The French minister, on his part, announced that a list of interested French mining companies will be forwarded to Nigeria, as Nigeria sets to also benefit from funds being managed by France to build the capacity of geologists and laboratories in Africa. 1,000 geologists from Africa have already benefited from similar partnerships. In line with the directive of President Bola Tinubu for the swift transfer of victims of the Suleja fuel tanker explosion to tertiary medical centers for enhanced medical attention, 20 patients have been admitted to Gwagwalada Specialist Hospital in Abuja, and 2 additional patients transferred to the Federal Medical Center, Jabi, Abuja. A statement by the Special Assistant Media to the Minister of Information and National Orientation says all the patients were accompanied by a nurse and family members to the designated referral centers to ensure seamless care. The statement equally conveyed that Niger State government has expressed gratitude to the federal government for prompt and effective response to the unfortunate incidents. The Federal Ministry of Information and National Orientation, he added, will continue to monitor the situation closely and provide timely updates to Nigerians. The National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NACON, has announced the Hajj Fair for 2025. In a statement, Assistant Director, Information and Publication of the Commission, Fatima Sende Usara, said the fair was announced sequel to the approval from the Office of the Vice President of Nigeria. It indicates that intending pilgrims from the Borno zone are expected to pay 8,325,125 naira 59 kobo. Intending pilgrims from southern states are to pay 8,784,085 naira 59 kobo, while intending pilgrims from the northern zone will pay 8,457,685 naira 59 kobo. Chairman of the Commission, Professor Abdullahi Salih Usman, describes the Hajj Fair as a product of extensive collaboration with all stakeholders. The 90 Amphibious Battalion of the Nigerian Army in Koko Delta State has heightened strategies that will further combat crude oil theft and pipeline vandalism in the Niger Delta region. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa reports that the commanding officer of the battalion, Colonel Oluwale Okedigba, restated this as the 2024 West Africa Social Activities WASA in Koko. Details of this report will come to you in subsequent bulletin. Now, Nigeria and Gambia are partnering to improve data collection and dissemination processes for both countries. This is as the Gambia Bureau of Statistics is on a week-long study tour to the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, Nigeria, as part of efforts to enhance statistical capacity. Our correspondent, Moplang Dakok, is working on that story, and it will come to you subsequently. Next on our lineup is sports update.
Striker FC of Armagh emerged victorious in the FCT Area Council Cup competition, winning 4-3 in a penalty shootout against Emirate FC of Abuja after a goalless draw at regulation time at Resettlement Stadium, Abuja. The tournament, organized to celebrate local government autonomy by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, saw 12 teams from FCT participating, providing an opportunity for youth to promote peace and display their talent.
It's happening in this government. The renewed hope of Mr. President, the renewed hope of Nigeria, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, by engaging the youth into sport. This grassroots sport, I want to assure the citizens, assure the Nigerians that this is what will be expected.
Meanwhile, Sega team clinched the top spot in the inaugural 2-week beach soccer tournament in Dutse, Jigawa State, with Kachi Ward securing second and Madobi United in third place. The competition, involving 12 teams from Dutse local government area, is seen as a platform for the development of sports in Jigawa State and offers young athletes the chance to hone their skills and compete at higher levels.
In Jigawa State,
we earlier told you that Donald Trump has been inaugurated as the 47th President of the United States of America. Now, joining us via Zoom to speak on the personality of Donald Trump, the 47th President, is via Zoom from Washington, D.C., is the VOA Congressional Correspondent, Catherine Gibson. Catherine, thank you for joining us.
This is Steve Herman. I am the Chief National Correspondent of the Voice of America. Good afternoon from Washington.
All right, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Now, can you please paint a picture of the mood of the people following the inauguration of Donald Trump as the president?
Well, it's a mixed mood across the United States, even here in Washington, D.C., because this was a relatively close election, although Donald Trump did sweep the 7 so-called swing states. And there are several 100,000 people who have descended on Washington in the past few days, expecting to see him sworn into office today, and also watch a parade. However, because of the very cold weather here, which is why we're down here in the newsroom instead of on the roof of the building, it's like a -5 Celsius, things were moved indoors out of concerns about people's health. So the actual inauguration, which happened at 12 noon, happened inside the rotunda of the U.S. Capitol. That was only witnessed by several hundred people. And then there was a crowd of about 20,000 people at a nearby indoor sports stadium who were watching it on a screen, and that's where the parade is going to be held. And the last time that this happened was 40 years ago during the second inauguration of Ronald Reagan. So a lot of people who came here, paid thousands of dollars, had tickets to watch the inauguration, disappointed because they were not able to do that today, and their tickets are just souvenirs.
Now, Steve, we want you to tell us, what are the immediate issues that American people want Donald Trump to handle now that he is back on the saddle?
Well, the number one issue in the election was the economy, and there were concerns about immigration. And we heard Donald Trump in his inaugural speech just a little while ago lay out what he is planning to do immediately. Usually an inaugural speech, it's platitudes, and we may hear what the president is going to plan to do over the next 4 years. It was more like Donald Trump telling us what he's going to do in the next 4 hours. That he is immediately signing a lot of executive orders. These are presidential orders that include sending some U.S. troops to the southern border. He's declaring a national emergency about immigration. He also said that there's a national emergency about energy, and in his words, that is going to allow us to, quote, drill, baby, drill. And he also said that the United States is going to take back the Panama Canal, although he did not specify how that is going to happen.
All right, as we await information on the remaining executive orders that President Trump is signing, now we want to hear from you. What do you think will be the major impact of a second term in office of the Trump presidency, especially on the economic front?
Well, he's going to have sweeping powers, but there are a lot of economists who say that a president can sort of roughen the edges of the cycle with the economy, but unless they do something really, really drastic, they either really can't significantly improve it or crash it. But Donald Trump said he is ordering the members of his cabinet to immediately use all of their forces to try to get prices down quickly as possible. So we'll see what that is, but he hasn't really specified any economic plans. And we have an independent central bank in this country, the Federal Reserve Board, although Donald Trump may want to put someone in that position who is more pliable, that will maybe perhaps listen to what he wants to see done with, say, interest rates in the monetary flow.
Thank you so much, Steve, for sharing those perspectives. We thank you very much.
My pleasure.
And that does it on News at 7 here on NTA International in our Abuja studios. I'm Lami Ali, and Bamidele John has been the sign language interpreter. You have a good evening.